This morning's weight. 96.
So this week I found myself feeling very burnt out. Okay, I feel like I've been overworking, really just been locked in, focused, and I got to a point where I saw myself lacking the drive, lacking the motivation, and just not being as productive as I wanted to be. And this happens. Okay, burnout is normal when you're overworking and you just need a bit of a reset. So I decided yesterday I'm going to just take a day off of the content as well, just not be on social media as much, just kind of do some wholesome things, do a little bit of therapy. Now, since I haven't been able to go to the gym, which is usually my therapy, I go to something else, right? So I did a little bit of household things, some DIY things, some construction, some cutting, some painting, and it really, really helped. Okay, it was a bit of a reset for me, and this morning I feel so much better. And on top of that, I had some good friends over. But with regards to when it comes to that reset, right, when you have burnout, it's the exact same thing when you are training. Let's say you've been working super hard in the gym, you've been going through a growth phase, you've been going through a strength phase, and you've hit a bit of a plateau with regards to gaining size and gaining strength. It is so important to take a deload week, because what that deload week does, it basically sets up your body for growth. Okay, it sets up your body for further progress, because you've got fatigue, because you're tired, you're burnt out. It's super important to take that week, just drop the sets, drop the reps, and really prioritize recovery, because after that, your body is going to rejuvenate. Okay, you're going to start feeling so much better, and that's where you're going to start breaking through those plateaus. So having something like a deload week is super important, and mentally it's the exact same thing. Okay, if you burnt out, it's really good sometimes just go away somewhere in the bush like I did the other week and just unwind, and then you come back being way more driven, way more motivated. But yesterday, we had some good friends over, okay? There was a rugby happening, and I thought, you know what, let's have a little braai. A braai is basically, in my country, like a barbecue, okay? Where we just sit outside, just chat, just have awesome conversations, very, very wholesome. And I had a friend over from, school time, when I was in high school. Specifically at boarding school, he was one of my friends. I always saw him as an older brother. And we just started talking about all the old memories and all of the old shit we got up to, and how we went from then to where we are now. At that point, I was super broke, right? I was going out, spending all of the money I earned from the jobs that I was working. I was working bartending jobs at that point, 3 jobs at a time, whilst I was also doing a little bit of studying with regards to fitness. But I didn't fully have an idea of where I'm going and what I'm doing with my life. Right? I just didn't really have much of direction at that point. So we were just partying. He was staying in this tiny little shoebox apartment in Stellenbosch, which is a university town. So there's parties happening every single week. And at this point we were both broke, right? We had absolutely no money whatsoever. And to be honest, none of us had direction. So we would literally go to the bottle store, the liquor store, and we would, they had this old brown sherry. This old brown sherry that was probably $2 for a liter. And it would just absolutely get you wasted. You'd feel like crap the next day, but it would get you wasted. And I remember the nights going out there. I remember those nights going out, and we caused so much shit. We would go out in a group, and there was a point, multiple nights, where we would go to people's cars, right? Maybe 3 of us, and we'd lift the back up and kind of twist it onto the curb. Just really causing havoc, being just a bunch of assholes. We were young at that point, and we were careless. We went to university buildings, and we were just peeing on it, just being really a bunch of dicks. But we were drunk, we were young, we were stupid. I mean, he was with me as well, to the point where I got my ass beat, right? I got beat up by 4 guys. I put 2 of them on the floor, and then the other 2 just came and just beat the shit out of me. I remember that was one of the biggest blows to my ego at that point. And I told myself I will never let that happen again, but he was all there for that. Now, we actually really met in boarding school, before I started my fitness journey, right? Before I got into training, before I, started picking up size, started picking up confidence, and when I was skinny. And he was actually one of the guys, at the school that I was at, it was a very traditional school, okay, very sport-orientated school. So anyone that knows what that's like, there's a lot of banter going on, okay, and we used to also get up to a lot of shit at school as well. But when you are the younger person, because he's older than me, he's about a year older than me, so I always saw him as an older brother figure. He was actually there helping me like with my first training, getting my bench press right. So I really looked up to him, and I still do. He's a legend. But he was one of the guys that called me, like teased me, like rickets, skinny, but that's just part of it. But even though I knew it was banter, it still had a major effect on me because I knew it to be true, and I didn't feel 100% confident. I didn't, as a man, right? I always felt like I was capable of so much more, and I just didn't know how to get there. And then that's where the whole journey began. That's where I started getting into training, and I was just so motivated at that time to make a change, and I still made a promise. I said, and I believed in myself. I got to that point where I said, you know what, there's nothing going to stop me, and I started believing in myself, and I told myself that there's nothing that's going to hold me back from, first of all, proving these people wrong, and second of all, proving it to myself that I can do that, okay? And that's where the journey began, and I still made a bet with him, and I said, you know what, watch, by the time that I'm in matric is when you leave school, like the final year of school, I'm going to be the biggest guy in the school, and I was one of the biggest guys in that school. Started off at 58 kilos. I think when I left there, I was probably somewhere around like 96 kilos, which was not bad for someone who was in matric, right, in grade 12. And I was super stoked with myself. But anyway, we got to talking about all of the memories that we went through, all of the shit we got up to, and it was really wholesome because, he gave me just a little bit of positive reinforcement as well, telling me like how he's so proud of me from where I was at that point, being broke, not having any direction, to what I've been able to achieve. And it's really nice to get that from like friends, from people that you looked up to tell you that. So it was really great. And we got into like the logistics of it, not the logistics, but he asked me what it is that I do, because he wants to get a bit more depth into what I do. And I said, yeah, so I coach people. It's not just about the physique. Like, my goal is to just create as much value as possible, right? Within these past couple of months as well, I've just been dead set on not just it being a physique change, but also like a whole mental, right? It's a mindset and it's a habit. And I told them how I'm building out these habits modules and these mindset modules for all of my clients, and how a lot of my clients have actually come to me because the majority of them are business owners, they are businessmen. So there's a guy that is a heart surgeon, there's guys that are in top marketing firms, and they actually want to do a whole mental reframe, mindset development as well as habits development, which they can ultimately take with them in their field of business. Like one guy in specific, who got James that joined, he's just taken over a company, and I actually know him from school as well. And he said, he's just taken over this company, but he wants a physique to match that, right? He wants his because our physique is an external representation of what we're inside, and he's taken on a leadership role, and he wants to set an example. He wants to set the standard for the people that work for him, which is amazing, and it's incredible. And that's basically what it's about. And we spoke about the mindset, and he's like, it's so crazy how you went from working 3 bar jobs to like having the balls to not only put myself on social media, do all the content, but actually start my own business. Because we're very like-minded people. He's got so much potential as well. He's brilliant. Like he's really good at what he does, but he's never ever like gotten to that point where he believes in himself enough, and he's afraid of failure to actually start. And I used to have that fixed mindset as well. Like when I was at school, for example, like I would never do sports. Like I would never do rugby. I would never like give it my all in basically anything, because I was so scared that if I'm going to give my all, I'm just not going to get that result. Like, what if I don't make that first team? What if I don't like succeed? And that scared the shit out of me, and that actually kept me fixed. you know, and it stopped me from ever trying anything because I was too scared of failure. And everything changed when I started like really prioritizing fitness, when I started seeing progress, and when I started seeing progress, and I really had that self achievement, right? Self, gratification rather, of me, like, oh my gosh, I'm making progress. That just drove positive beliefs into me, which then just, the sky is my limit. There are no limitations. And since then, I've continued to push myself, and I still do. Right? Before, it was just to change, to get out of the shitty situation that I was in, the person that I felt like I was just not happy, to now, I'm super content with how I am, and I'm very happy with how I am and the person that I've become. But now it's about just going higher, achieving more and achieving more. And I'm so happy that I've been able to achieve that mindset. But we got to the speaking of how he hasn't been able to do that, and that's because of his negative belief system. And that's actually what I'm going to show you guys today, is how having negative beliefs and negative outlook, not believing that you can achieve something, is literally the only reason that is holding you back. It's that your limiting beliefs are the only things that are stopping you from achieving what you want to achieve. And I've got a whole Miro board that I'm going to show you guys at the end of this video of exactly how that works. I'm going to give you a quick little overview of how all of that works. But before I do so, you need to understand that anything that you put your mind to is achievable. There are no limitations whatsoever to what you want to achieve. None. Okay? If you put in the work, you show up, you believe in yourself, you will get there no matter what. Because at the end of the day, it's compounding. It's like compounding interest. The more you show up, the more you sacrifice, the closer you're going to come to that goal. And let me explain that to you in a quick little overview before we go into depth later of how that works. Let's take it from a fitness perspective. Let's say you've got a limiting belief that your genetics are holding you back. Let's say you've got a limiting belief that you don't think and you don't fully believe that you can achieve what you've set out. Now, you will never get there, and this is why. Let's say you want to pick up 10 pounds of muscle tissue in the next 6 months or 10 months, and you don't fully believe that you can get there. How is that going to affect your discipline to sticking to the program? Well, if you don't believe that you're going to get there, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be like, I don't even think I can really get there, so I'm not going to give it my all. I'm not really going to sacrifice because I don't truly believe that I can achieve it. Then that lack of discipline is going to lead to a lack of consistency. And as we know, consistency beats perfection time and time again. Consistency is going to be the main reason why you actually achieve what you achieve. It doesn't matter what that outcome goal is. If you continue to show up every single day, you step into that role, that identity of the person that you want to become, you do what that person does, over time, all of these little habits, all of these little actions are going to compound, and regardless, lead you to where you want to get to. Now, if you have that lack of discipline, you're going to have lack of consistency. You're not going to show up. You're going to give 40%. Then what that means is it is going to show in your progress. You are not going to get the progress every single week, every single month, every single year that you should be getting. Now, that lack of progress is going to really be detrimental to your self-esteem, to your self-belief that you can achieve. Then that cycle, it continues, right? So you want to pick up 10 pounds. You're not going to stay, you don't believe it, you're not going to stay disciplined. That discipline is going to lead to lack of consistency and doing the action needed to get you there. And that is then going to show poor progress, and then you're going to lose even more belief. And that's how that works. Whereas if you flip that around, let's say, for example, you believe that you can achieve. You believe that you can get to whatever goal that you've set out. I want to pick up 10 pounds. I'm going to do it no matter what. Nothing and no one is going to stop me. That is going to make sure that your discipline, your drive, your motivation is on point. Now that your discipline is on point, you're sticking to everything that you need to stick to in order to achieve that. Okay? What does that mean? Now, you are going to move closer. Every week, every month, you are going to now be making progress. You're going to see, holy shit, this is working. I can achieve this. And it's going to make you even more disciplined. It's going to build your mindset. It's going to build your belief, because now you're getting proof in real time that you're seeing that progress. And that is how mindset can literally change everything. I'm going to give it to you in like a business perspective. Let's say you want to start a business, but you truly don't believe that you can start that business. Okay, you're like, I'm too scared to fail, so I'm not even going to start. Like you feel like you could do it. Like, I can do that. I know I can, but you're too scared to start because you're scared that you're going to fail. You're scared that it's gonna hurt your ego. But here's the thing: failure is inevitable, right? It's inevitable. But you learn from every single failure, and when you learn from those failures, you grow, you analyze. Then from there, you just develop, and then you will get there regardless. If you don't believe that you can start a business, right? You're scared of failure. What's that going to mean? Well, first of all, you're never going to start. But let's say you fully don't believe that your business is going to succeed, and after a year of trying your ass off, you still haven't gotten to where you want to get to. You're going to quit. But if you continue to believe in yourself and in your business and that it's going to succeed, you're going to stay disciplined to everything needed. You're going to stay disciplined to waking up early every single day. You're going to sit behind, you're going to study, you're going to self-develop, you're going to talk to people that know what you need. Let's say you slack at marketing, you're going to speak to people in marketing, you're going to do a marketing course, you're going to learn. You're going to implement. Every single time, you're going to stay consistent. Every day, I wake up at this time, I work for this long. Every day. It's going to compound. Boom, you're going to hit that breakthrough. That's where the progress comes. Then you're going to reassure yourself like, holy shit, this is possible. I'm going to continue going. And so it just goes. It goes. And then one day you break through and you've made it. Every single successful person, highly successful person, has failed multiple times in their life. Multiple times. But the reason why they're successful is they continue to use these failures as lessons and continue to build, and then boom, that's where it goes. Do you know how many times I had doubts as well? I had doubts growing up, getting into the fitness. Yes, it worked, and then I would hit a plateau. I'm like, okay, shit, what if I'm capped? And then I just snapped out of it. No, I'm not capped. There's not a chance. Look at what I've already been able to achieve. Now I just need to strategize, trial by error until I find what works. And I did that, right? I ended up studying so that I could further improve my knowledge, because knowledge is key. And then after I did that, I leveled up. My physique leveled up. I broke through the plateau. Then it got to a point where, okay, I need to really take this to advanced level. And then I worked with literally one of the best bodybuilding coaches in the world, who is super technical, super scientific, and I learned even more. And then I improved. I went from becoming like 5th in a competition to getting my first gold medal within a year because of the knowledge that I've gained. Okay, and it's the same with business. If you capped at a certain point, okay, then your knowledge needs to improve. You need to go get a mentor that's going to teach you how to do the next step, and then you're going to improve, and so on. It's never going to get easier, but you're going to learn more, and it's become a lot simpler. But anyway, I'm going to give you guys an entire breakdown, a Miro board, like a visual representation, so you've got a much better idea of how this works and how you can implement this into your life to reframe that mindset, because I promise you, anything is possible if you put your mind to it, and if you show up every single day and you take the actionable steps that are going to get you there. I promise you. So that's that. It's been a brilliant weekend. I'm going to go do some other things now. My dad's over. We're going to go chill. Let's see if I might document that as well. It's going to be great. I'm going to do some meal prep today. I'm gonna get my week set up. So I'm very excited. This little reset was literally everything I needed. And honestly, it was achieved in 24 hours. I felt so burnt out. I felt so lost. And now I just feel good and super, super excited. But peace, guys. I'll check you guys in a minute. that is what you call the definition of temptation bundling. Now, what is temptation bundling, you may ask? So that is when you have two different things, right? One thing that you don't necessarily like, but something that's going to be super beneficial, right? That's going to set you up, put you in the right direction where you want to go. And then another thing that you do really want to do. Okay, so let's say, for example, it is your goal to drop 10-20 pounds. You absolutely despise cardio, but you've made it your goal to do about 20 minutes of cardio every single day, right? That's a goal that you've set up. So you don't want to do that cardio, you don't want to sit on the treadmill, you don't want to sit on the watt bike. So this is something that you can do to make it a lot easier to actually stick to it. If you love watching Netflix, for example, and you've got your favorite show, get on the watt bike, do your 20 minutes and watch your favorite show. This is going to make it so much easier and so much more enjoyable. In my case, for example, I absolutely despise meal prepping, but I know for a fact it is going to set me up. Okay, it's going to set my entire week up for success. I don't have to cook every day, I don't have to clean every day. I'm not a big fan of cooking unless I'm really cooking a nice meal for me and my girlfriend on a cheap meal, but not the biggest fan in general. So what I've done and why this meal prep has been so much better on this beautiful day is because we having a braai. A braai is like a barbecue. Got my dad over, got my girlfriend, my dog, listening to some tunes. And then what do? I'm prepping my meals at the same time. So it makes meal prepping so much easier, so much more enjoyable, and I'm going to be set up for the week ahead. Give that a go. Been an absolute killer of a Sunday. So I did all of my check-ins yesterday, so Saturday morning as usual, but like you guys know, I did a whole reset. I just took the day off, just kind of unwind, did the DIY stuff, got a decent amount done, which is cool. At some point I'll show you guys all of that, but there's still a decent amount that needs to be done. But yeah, I feel so good, man. I feel ready for the week ahead. I'm super stoked. I'm gonna spend the rest of the evening doing my planning for the week ahead to ensure that I'm set up, that I get into that week with that flow state. I'm going to update all of my clients' programs, make sure that they are set up for the week and make sure that they continue to win all day, every day. What else are we going to do? Okay, so I'm going to take you guys through the negative feedback loops, right? And how your negative and limiting beliefs could be the only thing stopping you right now, okay? And taking you to that level that you want to get to. Then I'm going to show you how you can just re-look at things. Now, there are certain things, methods, strategies, frameworks within this, but I'm going to do complete different videos so I can give more depth in that. All of these things have helped me in the past overcome a lot of things, going from breakups, going from like my back being injured, just like really shit situations that I didn't really, I just wasn't happy at that point, and how I just reframed it. But that will be a little bit later. But we're going to go through the negative feedback loops. And of course, I'm going to show you guys what the progress looks like. Made some really good progress this week with week 9 of following the lean mass method. That insulin sensitivity is becoming very close to being primed. I'm probably not going to push into a growth phase until next year, just because after the surgery, oh shit, yeah, there you go. Guys, I'm getting the surgery done on the 20th of November. That completely slipped my mind. So 20th of November is booked. Super happy. The surgeon's actually just away on holiday now, so that's why I'm not getting it done now. I had some difficulties with the medical aid. They just weren't, they weren't pulling in. They weren't showing up. So I just said, I'm just gonna bloody well do it. Okay, yes, it's a big chunk of money that I've had to fork out now. Money that was going to go toward an investment that I was really keen on doing, but I've been set back. And in the past, that would have really pissed me off. That would have put me in overwhelm and just really I've been working my ass off to do that. And now I can't, because it's a decent amount of cash for a spinal surgery, and a specific spinal surgery, as a matter of fact. Now my plan, my medical aid scheme, can be upgraded within the 1st of Jan. They won't let me upgrade it now, but even if they allow, even when I do upgrade, they won't allow me to have that specific surgeon. So I guess I need to pay for it in any case, because this guy does an incredible job. He's the only guy in the country that does endoscopic surgery, where instead of cutting like a huge part of the muscle from the back, they literally just make a tiny little incision and they insert a camera. They're going to drill through one of my spinal columns, and then they're going to cut away the discs that are herniated and really like digging into that nerve. So I mean, I could walk, like I can literally walk the same day. I don't have to be in bed or not be able to move, and that's one of also the biggest reasons. And the recovery period is 12 weeks. I'll probably take some peptides, some BPC 157, some TB 500 to just speed up that recovery process. But I'll take you guys through all of those recovery protocols, everything that I'm doing when I get to that stage. But yeah, and today wasn't bad. Like I only took 2 painkillers and they're fairly mild. How I usually work is I'll take like fairly mild painkillers that aren't prescription, because I don't really like taking painkillers, especially prescription ones, because they just make me feel super whack and shit the next day, and I don't function properly. They make me droopy, tired, and I don't really like that feeling. So I'll usually take those at night, because sleeping has been hell. Like I've woken up multiple times, which I've shared on my Instagram as well, for those of you guys who watch me on Insta, of how I woke up, like I'm like 2 o'clock in the morning, can't fall asleep, so I just decided I'm going to take those prescription ones. But let's see what tonight's looking like. I'm feeling good. I even took the bike out for a spin, which was nice, just around the block, because I needed to start the battery. It's literally been sitting there for the past couple of months because I don't want to get on the bike, right? But because of the position that my legs are in and the way that I'm sitting like this, it's actually quite a relief on my back, so that's nice. Anyway, babbling, talking bullshit. Let's get into the negative feedback loops, and I'm going to take you guys through my dashboard. Obviously, still no training for next week. I don't think I'm going to train until I've gotten the surgery done. I'm not risking like pushing anymore with regards to that. So we're just going to keep following the low-day meal plans. And my hunger levels aren't bad whatsoever. I'm eating so well. Super stoked. And I'm still sitting on 3,000 calories. And I'll show you guys how much I've lost now with regards to the weight. But peace. Let's see you inside the dashboard. Right, what's up, gents? We are in the Miro board, and I'm going to be explaining exactly how all of this works, right? So you can get a better idea and a better understanding of how having a weak mindset is literally going to stop you from success, okay? Anyone who's achieved success does not have a fixed, weak, poor mindset. No, they've got a growth mindset. Now, I've explained the difference between a growth and a fixed mindset in one of my previous videos, but let's go through it, okay? So let's start off. Let's say you got a weak mindset, right? Or poor mindset, rather. So let's ask ourselves, what is that? So it's a collection of beliefs and internal stories that you tell yourself like you're not capable of change, right? And change is too hard, or that past failures define your future. Think a fixed mindset, right, is thinking like a fixed mindset is thinking that there is no way that you're going to reach that, right? You tend to blame certain situations, and you have that identity around like, I'm the sort of person who will fail. I'm the sort of person that will not get there, or I don't believe that I have the capability to get there. A lot of people tend to blame their genetics, their situations, their environments. Yes, your situation, your environment might be really shit, but there's always a way out. I mean, there's hundreds of stories of people like who grew up in like the worst possible environments that they had completely no control over, but they grafted, they grinded, and most importantly, they believed. Okay, now why? It sabotages everything, because beliefs literally drive behavior, right? If you believe something, you will act on that belief. Okay, if you sincerely believe that you are not cut out for change, your brain will literally conserve effort to avoid risk. And that is literally what happens. Your brain is wired for protection, right? If you think about our ancestors, like back in the day, hundreds of thousands of years ago, when survival was actually our top priority, whereas now it's more luxury based, like we just want to, it's not about survival anymore. It's about comfort. Like you get food, you want a nice car, you want a nice house, all that type of stuff. Whereas before it was just like survive. And that's how your brain does it. So your brain will always look for a way to protect yourself, not take risks. And you need to wire that out, because if you don't take risks and you don't put in that work, you're never going to get to where you want to get to. So a lot of people won't even start certain things, right? Because they fear that they are not capable. And I've had people in my program that have literally come to me and say, I'm like, okay, so what's been stopping you? What's been holding you back from getting to where you want to get to? And they say, literally believing that I'm not good enough, or believing that I can't get there. And that shit needs to be rewired. And that's why I say, once again, mindset is the cornerstone to success, right? It's the cornerstone to everything. So that's why you also find a lot of people will just half commit, like I did, right? I never wanted to join any sporting teams or even take it like properly, because I feared that I was never going to make the 18, right? I feared that I was going to do that. I feared that I was going to disappoint myself. Whereas if I had more of a growth mindset back then, I would have realized, okay, if I don't make the 18 this month, next month, that means I got to work on this, and this. I need to improve this, and this. I'm going to practice 3 times per flipping day if I have to ensure that I get there. And that is how my mentality changed from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Now, how it appears, right? With people with a poor mindset or fixed mindset, there's a lot of excuses, right? There's a lot of negative self-talk, not believing in yourself. It's like quick justification of interaction, like I'll start Monday, or I'll start next week. It's going to be my New Year's resolution, and it never ever tends to happen, right? And you compare yourself to a lot of others. Like you'll see a lot of people say, "Oh, but I'll never get that physique." You look on social media at all of these people, and like, "Oh, I just don't have those genetics." Like, man, genetics, yes, can play to your advantage, but it's not an excuse. I've had plenty of guys who don't have the best genetics. I mean, look at me, for example, right? You would have never thought me, 58 kilos, would be able to achieve a physique that I have today. Not a chance. Like I was against all odds if you're going to use the genetics cards. I worked my ass off to get to where I am, right? I didn't let that get the hold of me anymore. I changed that shit, okay? Now, when you've got that poor mindset, that negative self-talk, all of those things, you're going to lack the discipline because you don't believe that you can even achieve, okay? So this lack of discipline, what is it? It's a failure to do what matters when you don't feel like it. So for example, you need to understand that discipline it's not around something that you like to do. Discipline comes into play when it's something that you don't want to do, right? If you don't want to cook your meals, if you don't want to track your food every day, if you don't want to weigh your food every day, sticking to those things is discipline. But you need to remember, you can make discipline so easy. You can make discipline literally work for you, where you don't even have to use discipline or willpower that much. And that is by setting up the right systems and habits. Here's a brilliant example of what I did today. I prepped all of my damn food because there's no chance that I'm going to cook every day, clean every day, and then on top of that, I need to weigh my food every day. No, I do it once or twice per week, so I don't even have to use that discipline every single day. Okay, so it's usually, like I said, a systems problem. So you got weak cues, too many choices, and a poor environment. Your environment is going to be one of the biggest driving factors of who you are, who you become. And what I say with regards to that is, if you're someone that's trying to lose weight and you've got a jar of cookies in your house, or you got like a bunch of sugar and snacks, the temptation is just always going to be there, right? You need to remove that from your environment. If you're someone who smokes every single day and you want to quit smoking, throw the damn cigarettes away and don't buy it. Okay, I know it's easier said than done, but if you had a box of cigarettes lying on your table, on your desk there, and every time you look at it, that cue triggers the craving for the cigarette, which is going to lead to the response of smoking the cigarette. And then, of course, the reward is the satisfaction, the stress relief. And then every time you get a stress relief from smoking, you associate smoking with stress relief. And you need to also rewire that. I've spoken about that, but I'll make some more YouTube videos about that, going into depth. Let me know if in the comments if that's something that you'd like to see. Okay, so why it follows a poor mindset? When you doubt yourself, you rely on motivation. And motivation is flawed. Motivation is fickle. Okay, so without simple systems, willpower collapses, and I've just explained all of that. So how it appears, you'll skip scheduled sessions, okay? You will be rationalizing like, oh, I've had a long day. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I've worked enough. It's excuses, excuses, excuses. You endlessly plan, but you do not take action. And that's where so many people go wrong. Because what happens when you plan, you make it feel like you're putting in the work, right? When in fact, you're actually not. You can get so caught up in planning and strategizing, and then if you don't implement on that, it's just not going to work. So in other words, don't bullshit yourself, okay? And I got stuck in that shit as well for a very long time. Then it's going to lead to, obviously, your lack of discipline, your a lack of not being able to show up is going to it's going to lead to a lost or lack of consistency, okay? What is that? So it's irregular behavior, bursts of effort followed by long gaps. Cool, let's go. Monday, Tuesday, you go to the gym. Wednesday, Thursday, because your systems are shit, you don't have habits set up, you're going to fall off the bandwagon, and it's just not going to continue, okay? So you need to understand, like I mentioned, consistency beats perfection every single time, okay? Consistency builds up, and it compounds, and it will lead to that desired outcome no matter what. So how it appears, you'll be hitting that hard for 2 weeks, like, okay, cool, I'm stuck in it, like I'm ready to hit it hard, and then after those 2 weeks, again, you don't have those systems set up, you don't have the right habits in place, you just like slap off. Like how many of us, or how many of you, well, all of us, how many of us have started something and in the first week to 2 weeks, you're like super pumped up, you're like super stoked, you wake up 5 a.m. every single morning, boom, boom, boom. And then after about a week and a half to 2 weeks, you're like, I'm going to sleep in a little bit. I'm going to do it. And that's because You haven't built the habits that are going to make it last. That's why habits are so important, because they're going to sustain you through life, even when you don't want to do the shit. It becomes so much easier to do something automatically on autopilot rather than having to think about it. It's like a morning routine. I wake up, like, think about it. You wake up in the morning, you literally, without even thinking about it, you go make your cup of coffee, you go do whatever it is you do next, right? You just continue with your morning routine. It literally becomes automatic. You're on autopilot. And then sometimes you're like, oh, I've already had my breakfast. I've already had my cup of coffee. Cool. That's what you want it to happen. Okay. That's why habit formation is so brilliant. But because of this lack of consistency, you're not compounding. You're not compounding those little wins. You're not compounding those little input goals, those little input things that are going to take you to the desired output, basically. So what's going to happen is, now instead of, let's say you need 10 per week, that's going to build up. You're doing 3, you're doing 3, you're doing 3. What's going to happen? You're not going to see any progress. Now that lack of progress is just going to reinforce that you aren't good enough, because you're like, oh, I can't get there. I can't get there. I can't get there. So what is the objective? Okay. Perceived lack of improvement. A lot of people also look at measuring metrics in a complete wrong way. They look at the scale weight, and if especially you haven't put in the right effort, it fluctuates, it decreases, it fluctuates, it decreases. And a lot of people just give up because they think it's hopeless. Okay. They think it's hopeless, but they're not tracking in the correct way. Now it's toxic because repeated no progress experiences create a learned helplessness, as we've said. Okay, you stop trying because of early attempts and failure, and you haven't developed that growth mindset. And as we know, a growth mindset, you think of things in a different way. Okay, this is a failure. Let's analyze, let's strategize, let's correct, and let's improve. Whereas in a fixed mindset, shit, I failed, I'm terrible, I'm hopeless, I can't do this, I can't do this. And then you just don't even continue. You quit, you give up. In some cases, you don't start. And that's why having that powerful mindset, because no, screw that. I'm better than this. I know that I'm going to achieve this. All I need to find out is where I went wrong. Boom. And that's it. Okay. And so that loop continues, that weak mindset, lack of discipline, lack of consistency, lack of progress, and it breaks you down even further. And that cycle, it never stops. Okay. And you get into that spiral, and it just becomes very, very difficult to get out. But this is basically awareness of it. You need to become aware of what is going on, because awareness is going to be the first step of change, because a lot of you guys aren't even aware of it. A lot of you guys think that you just aren't good enough, and that's just not true. It's bullshit. So let me show you what a positive feedback loop looks like. So that shouldn't be a weak mindset. That should be a strong mindset, or a wrong mindset. So strong or a fixed mindset. You've got an unbreakable mindset, and this is how you can rewire. You need to become aware. You need to make it obvious. You need to take a breath. But I've built out an entire thing here, which is the mental reframe. Okay, and I will do a complete separate video on that. And that is, analyze the situation. Do you have control over it? If you do have control over it, then you can change. If you don't have control over that situation, here's what's going to happen. You're going to acknowledge. Okay, you analyze. You acknowledge that this is how it is. You can't, it's out of your power. All of your feelings are valid. You feel shit, and you have every right to, but it is what it is. And then you need to come to the realization that there's nothing else that you can do, or nothing else you can do yet. You are where you are. Then you need to be grateful for what you have. Okay. That already rewires the mindset. So just think about everything that you have in your life that you're appreciative for, whether it be your family, whether it be the fact that you can walk, whether it be the fact that you can run, the fact that you have the ability to learn and improve. Be grateful for that. Then you're going to see how you can take that to your benefit, that situation. For example, right? And I'm not going to go too deep into this because I've made it a complete different Mario board for that. But for my back, for example, I was in a really shit position, right? I felt like it was so unfair that this has happened to me. I'm 26 years old. I can't walk. I have to ask my girlfriend to put on my shorts. It was just, now it's been a bit better. This past week is improving, but 2 weeks ago it was terrible. It's terrible. And I was just like, what, this absolutely sucks. And I broke down as well when that should happen. And then I'll use this exact strategy and I'll say, okay, how can I benefit this? Well, my body's getting more rest than what I needed. I can sit, I can study, I can self-develop. I have more time to do those types of things. I've got more time to work on my business. I've got more time to deal with my clients and give them the best experience and improve their systems. For example, because I haven't been able to train as much, I've built out habits modules and I've built out mindset modules for all of my clients to follow, basically based on this, but obviously a lot more in depth. And then, of course, you can solve it. Okay, find ways to solve it. If you're broke as shit, okay, you were born into a situation where there is no money. Yes, it sucks. Yes, it's difficult, but there are plenty of stories of people getting out of that. Okay, there are plenty of it. If you need to work 10 jobs, at once. You can only get 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep a week. You do that. You save up. You invest in your knowledge and what you can do next, and you will get out of there. Yes, it's unfair. Yes, not everyone has to work that hard, but these are the cards that you have been dealt, and that is just how it is. When you have that strong mindset, that positive mindset, then what happens to discipline? You've got a newfound discipline, right? You are basically in this new mindset of, damn, I can achieve anything and I will achieve anything and nothing is going to stop me. What does that mean? I'm going to do everything it takes to get there. I'm going to put in all of that damn work. I'm going to show up, wake up 5 o'clock every day, do my faster cardio, hit my training sessions, get all of my meals in. What are you doing? You're compounding. You're going to stick. Not just that, you've built the systems where discipline, you don't even have to use that much because it all comes super automatic, right? So that willpower doesn't even have to be used. So you can put things like a pointing and calling system, for example, to help with that discipline. Where, for example, if you are super lazy, and this has helped me a lot in the past, where I just never would pack my shit away. I was like, I'll get it later. And this was recently, right? Like a couple months ago. I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll watch this, or I'll put it. And it caused so much shit in my relationship, right? Because it's very unfair on my girlfriend that I'm just leaving my shit lying around. And then I just use this pointing and calling phrase. How you do anything is how you do everything. And I'm like, damn, I want to be the type of person that excels. I want to be the type of person that shows up in my business, in my physique. And that's the type of person that I've always aspired to be. That's the type of person I've stepped into. That is the role that I've stepped into. So if I'm slacking off here, I'm going to be slacking off there as well. And I've used this exact same strategy with my clients. Look at this. This is one of my clients, Jared. Let's read what he says. Everything's been really good. I've stuck to the diet 100% this week so far. I had some sweet cravings here or there, or maybe felt like having an extra block of dark chocolate at night, but just reminded myself that how you do anything is how you do everything. And it's been helping him keep in check. How bloody insane is that? So he's used that and it stopped him for his food cravings. And Jared, you see, he always used to go to food for comfort because that was a habit that he developed. Anytime he'd get stressed, that trigger would be food. Right? Or the craving rather would be for food. Then the response would lead to him eating. Then he gets that satisfaction of the stress relief, and then he associates food with the stress relief, basically. And that is how we rewire things in the lean mass method as we speak. So obviously, you're going to stay more disciplined. You're going to be more consistent. Repeated consistency by building habits, implementation intentions, and habit stacking. Those are all just formations that are going to help you stay more consistent as well, to make your environment a lot easier, to, again, make discipline become easier. But you're going to be more consistent. You're going to compound all of those wins, taking you to that goal, no matter bloody well what. And then real progress starts to happen. Every week, you see the scale go down. Every week, you start to lean out because you've stuck to everything you need to do. What is that going to do? What is that going to do for your mental health? Damn, I'm seeing progress. Shit, I've dropped a pound. That's going to get you excited. That's going to get you motivated. That's going to make you even more driven to show up and put in the work. But guys, that is literally the negative feedback loop versus the positive feedback loop. How thinking that you are not capable of something is keeping you fixed, is keeping you stuck, and how having that growth mindset of, I don't care what obstacles I face. I don't care what failures I face. I will succeed no matter what. And I will work my ass off to get there. But there we go. Hopefully you can become aware of that situation and then take the next steps to completely rewire that mindset and set you up for success, because every single one of you are capable of anything you put your damn mind to. Let's go. Now we're going to check the updates. All right. So now we are in the dashboard. Let's see what the visuals are looking like to begin with. Lost a lot of fat this week. That is for sure. Midsection is looking in like a lot better than last week. I wouldn't say insane. I can't flex my core properly. The back is still nice and skew, but that's going to be sorted out soon. Fucking excited, super stoked for that. But I'm definitely starting to look a lot more flat. Like my muscle bellies aren't very full at the moment because the glycogen is being depleted from my muscle. This is all part of the priming and the depletion phase. I'm pretty much like close to the depletion phase now. I haven't fully depleted carbs yet, but because I've been following my low days, I basically have like quite a decent amount. But triceps looking good. See, I got a little bit of a tan. Back also a little bit more, but the midsection is the most impressive change here, specifically in the oblique section. But that's what we got. And let us see what the weight is looking like. Boom. There you go. There you have it. Let's put it in 3 months now. We started at 224, and 9 weeks later, we are at 211, let's say 212 pounds. So that is 12 pounds in 9 weeks, guys. Following the low day meal plans, following the lean mass method, like muscle still there, haven't lost, protein is nice and high. I'm obviously not going to be making any changes to the meal plan whatsoever because if I drop food now, I might risk losing muscle tissue. But the protein is very high. I'm not being very active in terms of like risking using that much energy and risking my muscle for energy. So all is good. And you guys are going to see once I move into the growth phase, I'm just going to explode. Everything is just going to swell up and it's going to look next level. But that's what we've got for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I promise you, once my back is sorted, I'm going to be more on it with the YouTube content. I have been slacking on that, and I know, but I feel like once I get the surgery done, it is literally going to be a new awakening. I'm going to be reborn. I'm obviously not going to be a dumbass and go and hit the gym super, super hard. I am going to go train, do a lot of cable work, and I'll take you guys through that. And I'm going to be posting so much more gym content, and I'm super stoked for that. But guys, as always, love you guys. Like, subscribe, do whatever it is you need to do. DM me if there's anything that you're struggling with, if you want to set up systems in the correct, proper way, or just hop on a call and we can sort that shit out. Guys, peace. Love you. Cheers.